Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is a program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to hear your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, like mainstream media, beholden to corporations. We own allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBRTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kind of being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. As usual, I just came racing down to this show from KPFT, which we had a full show today on our $150,000 thing, So great. Anyhow, got here in time just to finish a few videos and watch my major peeps out here. Peggy Lopez is in the house. Eric Hayes is in the house. Yvette Avery Herod, or beautiful Yvette Avery Herod, is in the house. AVQ, also known as Michael Rudnan, is in the house. Welcome aboard, folks. We are going to have a great show for you today. Let's get started. ABC News. Breach MCP says, hey, y'all, second time I'm seeing Breach today. So we need to see Lee Grant as well, because second time I want to see Lee Grant. All right. We have ABC News. Uvalde School District suspends entire police force. Superintendent to retire amid fallout from shooting. The district has faced withering criticism over its police department actions. When you have a police force that fails so spectacularly and then try to cover up their failures, it's time for full replacement. Yeah. It's like, what took so long? CBS News, Mayor Adams said the city's shelters are running out of bed space with more than 61,000 homeless New Yorkers and migrants, including 20,000 children. In its housing system, a fifth of those in shelters are migrants, he said. The city has also enrolled 5,500 recently arrived migrant children in public schools. At the current pace, the local shelter system should find itself housing 100,000 individuals next year. Adams said he added that the city also anticipates spending over $1 billion receiving and housing migrants by next July. This is a problem I've talked about for years that need improved social services. New York has always welcomed immigrant refugees. And that won't change now. New York proves to be a moral society. Last one from The Guardian UK. We won't be intimidated by Putin's rhetoric, says White House after Biden's Armageddon warning. Russia's use of nuclear weapon in Ukraine would cause unintended consequences for Moscow, the White House press secretary said, while noting there's no evidence yet that the President Vladimir Putin intends to actually use the atomic arsenal. Launching any sort of nuclear attack, even a tactical one, will lead to disastrous consequences. This has to be another bloviating bluff by it better be, because that nuclear fallout is going to blow right back into Russia and kill his own. And let's see what his people say after that blowback comes into his own backyard, right? So no, it's going to be, if he tries to do a nuclear bomb, he would probably try to put out something like in Kiev where he hopes that the fallout will not reach, but I mean, that's not the case. It'll get into the milk, it'll get into the food supply, you name it. If he hits Ukraine with radioactivity, Ukraine as being the breadbasket of Europe, I don't know, it wouldn't be anymore, and that would really create some issues. Eric Hayes says Elon Musk announced his start of Tesla's semi-production will reach clients within 2 months. All I got out of the article was that 2,100 diesel and 500 EV range per tank. Might be a while before this is happening, but who knows? Sure, thing is there is no place to work on them if troubles. You are always trying to find some way to stop the electric vehicle. No, if he releases a whole bunch of these trucks, I'm sure they're going to have mobile stations all over within maybe 100 miles max that can go out there and service anything that falls apart, right? Come on, man. Progress. You continue to live as a troglodyte, my friend. Let's not do that anymore. Let's come into the 21st century. All right. Eric Hayes says, will Hunter be sacrificed at the midterms, then Joe shortly after due to health? If this happened, who takes over and won't say Harris? That would even be worse, right? No, if something happens to Joe, like any other vice president, Harris will take control. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with Harris. She's a competent woman who knows this American system better than most Americans do. Not and notwithstanding that she and I have some lineage in common. We are both from have lineage from the islands. While I wasn't born in Jamaica, I have grandparents that are Jamaicans, and her father is of Jamaican. So it would be great to see a Jamaican in the White House as president anyway, right? Come on, man. You know, you want to have some reggae and some ganja, right? I'm just kidding. Just kidding. E2247 says, hello, relatives. Today, visit will be the best ever. I love you, E2247. I love your gumption, man. You're the man, E2247. Lee Grant says, hi all. I'm seeing you again, Lee. Love you, brother. Keep the flow. Keep it coming. You know, couldn't do this show without having your opinion. Bruce says, missed the noon show, but here now. Did you think about my armed services question? I saw it, not quite yet. Let me tell you, Bruce, it's been a crazy morning, but I saw it. I said, I got to take a look at Bruce's stuff. So I'll do it later, sir. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Eric says, New York, lots of gaslighting there asking for federal help. What about federal solutions to the problem they created? Coming from a bigger state, huh? What can I say? Peggy Lopez says, Chevronol increased the background radiation here and around the rest of the world. It sure did. Peggy Lopez says, glad to see you today, Bridge MCP. Norman Reynolds says, we da ya and everywhere else. We da ya. We dia. Yeah, we dia. I got it, bro. I got it. And Michael Rudden says, cars, electric cars with the longest range. Eric, you want an EV with a 500-mile range. Here you go. I love it. Me gusta. Bridge MCP says she misspoke. Ugh. And Lee Grant says, fact is Harris' ancestors might have owned Egberto's ancestors. No, actually, Harris is Jamaican, and I don't remember what her mother is. I think it's not Anglo. It is actually Indian, as in from India. So her mother is Indian, her dad is Jamaican. But you know what? All of us black folks have a little bit of you in us, Brother Lee Grant. You know, we got a little bit of you in us because your great-great-great-great-great-great-granddaddy always liked to, you know, to mess around. And, you know, he knew a lot about, you know, yeah. So that's why I got a little bit of you in me. That's why that's why Harris has a little bit of you in her. That's why even Yvette Avery Herod probably have a little bit of you in her too, man. Yeah, your forefathers used to like to do some stuff, man. I'm telling you. So before you start talking, my brother Lee Grant, remember that. Norman too. You know, Norman, these folks used to like to do that too, right, Norman? Yeah, we know it. Anyway, all right. Sins of the fathers born on the sons and daughters. Eric Hayes says, Biden and Harris, the GAF administration. Oh, boy, you just love that, don't you? Bridge MCP said, not copy-pasting anymore for Eric. He said the day you weren't here, he does not read. And that's what drives me, right? A lot of folks with the most opinions are ones that have somebody else spoon-feed things to them. Yvette Avery Herod says, definitely have mixtures in our bloodline. You got that right, Avery. You know, so, you know, I like when my white brothers and sisters say certain things. And every now and then I'll tease them and say, hey, you know, I got a little bit of you in me. But guess what else, sis? You got a little bit of me in you. We all mixed up, baby. That's why we need to love on each other, man. Lee says, I don't know what you're talking about. My ancestors were European peasants and merchants. Well, and a lot of them came over here. And when they came over here, they suddenly got status. Michael says, you know the screwed up part? When one of your conversations linked to a reputable source, I check out what the heck they're all about. There you go. Bruce Pollard says 23 and me and we. Actually, I did the 23 and me test, and that's where I found out some interesting factors, right? Breeds MCP says Egberto Willis, Spain invaded Ireland. That's why we have dark Irish like me. Yeah, there you go, girlfriend. There you go. I had a great show today. Got quite a few people to call in to KPFT. I missed a whole bunch of calls, actually, because we had some phone system problems earlier on. But here's the thing. I started out by telling folks, and I'm getting to the videos in a little bit, but I started out the program by telling folks I went to the gas station here in Kingwood. And the gas prices had gone up to $3.09 or $3.19. I think it was $3.09. And hey, where are all our YouTube and YouTube folks and or other folks? Did it not go through or something today? What's happening to our peeps? Or is it Friday and everybody wants to take off? Well, anyhow, so when I saw that, I said, I'm not paying $3.09 for gas when I was starting to pay $2.70 something last week, so I'm not going to do it. So I went to Costco, and at Costco, their gas was $2.79, 30 cents difference. So I filled up with a 30 cents difference, but then I got sort of pissed, right? They just announced that 2 million barrels of oil per day will be cut, but it doesn't begin till after the election. The thugs in suits and ties, the tits, thugs in ties and suits, they already started raising prices, right? It's like, what? Are you kidding me? Folks, you have to go out there and vote. Because let me tell you, we are approaching the time. Look, I want you to do, this is going to be simple math here, okay? You cannot have, notice the wealthy grows at 7, 8, 10, 20% per year. Their wealth, their income, all of that grows at orders of magnitude greater than ours. We are growing at net 3% right now with 8% inflation and 5% wage gains. We are only gaining 3%. We're losing 3%. We're losing 3% while the wealthy continues to make money, right? Think about this. That is unsustainable. If they are making 7+% and we are currently running negative, it really means that they're constantly getting a bigger piece of the pie. It's unsustainable, and it's going to come to a ridge pretty darn soon. It's going to come to a head pretty darn soon. And what that means, coming to the head pretty darn soon, is one of two things: riots, pitchforks, and people hunting down the wealthy, or the best way is for us to all go ahead and vote. And when we vote progressive. And when we vote progressive, we institute policies that take the legally stolen money away legally through taxes for what these thugs in suits and ties have done. What these tits have done. Okay? I know it says TSAT, but we ignore the connective tissue like the ands and that kind of stuff. That's why you say tits. All right, so folks, go and make sure in Texas you have until October 11th to register. Please register today, tomorrow, or the day after. We don't have any time to waste. We need you to go register to vote because we need your vote, and is such an important thing for us to do to make sure that we can untax or retax those who have been cleaning our clocks. And in that light, before I get into more petroleum, I want to play a piece. Before, let's see, Rudnin says, well, before I go to Rudnin, I should go to other people. I think Bridge says that guy that called in regarding gas and how the gas isn't a gallon was good. Yes, he was very good. That guy's name is Tory Mercer. He's a longtime supporter and follower of the show in both directions, both the internet show and the on-air show. Breed says, isn't it a bit strange how they are doing this gas hike right before our elections and knowing Russia and OPEC and Trump are hand in hand? Yes, it is. Look, remember, fascists don't care about government, right? They don't care who is in control of government because they control who's there. So they don't care. Peggy Lopez says, thugs in suits and ties are not tits. They're TSAT or TISAT. And I get it, but we ignore the and, okay? We ignore the and. Michael Rodney says, Egberto, you keep talking about nationalizing the oil industry. When they're messing up like this, it might be time. It is time. Let's see. It says messing up like this might be the time. Oil supply in the U.S. has been hit by an unexpected series of accidents and maintenance work at refineries around the country. A fire and an explosion at BP plant in Ohio last month caused the deaths of 2 workers and indefinitely shut down operations, and the plant could potentially stay offline for months. Again, they like to talk about the efficiency of the private sector. The lie is the following. How can the private sector be more efficient than the public sector if you have a profit motive and what you do is you try to cut costs at all costs? It doesn't even make any sense. But when you teach people and repeat this over and over and over and over again, they tend to believe it. That's why we are here, to tell the truth. Lee Grant says, election month is right around the corner. It sure is. Mike Cesek says, did you all look at the employment report closely? It was all minimum wage jobs. Okay. Doesn't that tell us something that we need to increase the minimum wage? If all these guys could get were minimum wage jobs, it's time to increase the minimum wage. I don't see how saying that makes that any possibility. I don't know where you got that Hidalgo is behind in the poll, and I hadn't yet seen that. Let's see. The last thing I read was September 8th that said Lina Hidalgo increases the lead in Harris County. And the Harris County, and the last one was September 8th. I don't know if there's a poll that's been taken after September 8th. If you're going to put a link like that, put a link that goes to the poll that points that out. But I don't see that Hidalgo. I just looked it up again, and I don't see that. So what are you talking about? Peggy Lopez says, equating a woman's body with the thugs is offensive to women. We have the power over oil prices. TST is the word. It is pronounceable. It's pronounced as TSAT. Okay, I got it. Peggy just slapped me around, and I accept your slap. Forgive me. I accept your slap. That may be some of my muscle memory, even though I've excoriated that. I just thought it was kind of funny, but I won't use it again. TSAT, 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 it is. All right, let's continue. If there is a major accident at government site with no threat to public from the accident and the demand for that government service remain, more than likely government would build another site. There you go. Rafael Grossi, General UN Nuclear Watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency, won't recognize Russia's claims to control Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, and they should not. Carl Cox says American politicians should make big oil taxes on record profits. I think they should. Big oil, just one example of mega corporations are raising prices to get Biden out of office, and it won't work. But let's go to our first video. I want to tell you, notice earlier I was talking about how we are on an unsustainable modal. We can't sustain what we are doing right now, where the wealthy can increase by 7, 8, 10, 20%, while the poor, their wealth continue to decrease. What it means is that growth in wealth by the few is at the expense of all of us. that many on the right cannot see it. And I'm not talking about the people, the wealthy folks on the right. They know exactly what they're doing. They know that they need to keep their people ignorant so that if their people remain ignorant, I'm not saying that to be offensive at all. I'm saying it with respect. I'm ignorant at a lot of things. Look at how look at how my ignorance of how something would come across just got fixed when Peggy Lopez put me in my place. Right? So therefore, ignorance is, when you're ignorant, you're ignorant. And many folks on the right are simply ignorant. They're made purposefully ignorant by the people they trust. And it is incumbent on folks like me and others like you to inform them. But anyway, let's go ahead and hear the first piece, because what he's going to talk about is all those people that took from the government and they made it. And now they're trying their best not to give back. Check this out, and then we will talk about it on the other side. Well, let's see. We'll talk about it on the other side with Scott Galloway.
Scott, in your new book, you discuss the hold that you say big tech has over the American economy and why you're still hopeful for the country's future. You write in part this, though. The nation once idolized astronauts and civil rights leaders and inspired hope and empathy. Now it worships tech innovators who generate billions of dollars and move financial markets. The elites are digging in, protecting their growing fortunes from the risks, the very markets they claim to support. Although it's out of fashion, I remain an American exceptionalist. This country really is different in ways that make it a city on a hill, a beacon for the optimistic and the innovative. I often say that optimism is America's superpower, and this optimism really is powerful. Science tells us that it can extend an individual's life by 8 years. Imagine what 330 million optimists can accomplish. I don't disagree, but I want to back up and ask you what the biggest risk is from modern technology.
Well, as a society becomes wealthier and more educated, its reliance on the super being and church attendance goes down. But our questions, Mika, remain as complicated as they've ever been. And so into that void slips technology. I don't understand how my iPhone works, but I know it's amazing. And I would argue that the new Jesus Christ of our era are Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. And it's important to have heroes. But it's fairly apparent that technology companies and our tech innovators get to play by a different set of rules. They engage in antitrust and monopoly abusive behavior. They commit securities fraud on Twitter. They are the first to criticize our government, not appreciating that whether it's Google, Apple, or Tesla, it was EV credits, incredible forward-leaning investments from our great middle class into GPS or DARPA, the internet, or dividends from the space program, that essentially they've created a thin layer of innovation on top of great American middle-class investors in the form of the most successful VC in history, the U.S. government. Our most loyal Americans are veterans because they've invested the most in America. Unfortunately, I find that our least patriotic individuals are our most blessed, and that is tech innovators who are the first to criticize the country that has given them so much. So I would argue we need more regulation around technology companies, and generally speaking, we need to push back on tech leaders who say government should just get out of the way. They didn't ask us to get out of the way when we gave them $450 million loans to start their companies, structure acts to build charging stations or EV tax credits. America is by far the only place you could get traction that these companies have enjoyed. And I believe that it's time for them to start recognizing that incredible blessing of what it means to start a company and be a citizen here in the United States.
Now, again, that answers your question, Mike Cisak. A lot of the success of these guys were based on government investment in not only education at universities, but tax breaks given so that their starters could get off the ground. Now, and folks, forgive me for going into this. I want to address Mike Cisak. Here's what he says. Egberto, your envy of the rich is your ignorance of how people get rich. I chose not to get rich. I chose not to stay with a very comfortable amount. Let me explain. I'm only giving this example because of one reason. And folks, please humor me for a second here. I need you to humor me. Because what Mike Cisak just said goes to the core of what of the foolery that comes from the right when someone like myself or others in this business to promote progressive values, to lift up the playing field for everybody, that is the attack that they get, right? I chose not to be rich. You don't have to go very far to see the things that I've innovated on, not on the political side, but on the technical side. Okay? You don't have to go very far. It's all over the place. My technology is all over the place, and I'm talking about technology developed here. I've told many a time a story with my software that Boeing uses, and when I could see what it was licensing for, I was like, oh my God, somebody has to pay for that. And I realized deep in my heart that ultimately it wasn't Boeing paying me, but the person that least has pricing power who was paying me all those bucks for my software. So when you say the ignorance about how people get rich, it is you, sir, my dear friend, my brother, Mike Cisak, who haven't a clue what you're talking about. All right? I think I presented to you all the independent products that was created by Willie's Computer Software Company, as well as PWL, who created a login system for a Chinese company. And we could go on and on and on again. The reason I allowed you to touch a nerve today is for those who are listening to the show and they see me as the protagonist of this program and you as a second protagonist trying to say the only reason you say the things you say is that you're envious, you don't want to work, you're lazy. You know the standard stereotype that a black guy saying that we need to ensure that we have equity in this country, the stereotype that immediately goes on. So the reason that I want to get to you is to tell you no, sir. And the other thing that I want to say is that Bill Gates doesn't know how to program better than yours truly, nor do Elon Musk doesn't know more than the engineers I worked with who programmed TDS-11 and FSys at Daniel and Atlas. These were much more complex systems with much less technology then to develop than what Elon Musk has. What Bill Gates produced in Windows, the only reason we were able to make a whole bunch with our product is because of how lousy Windows was, how lousy MS-DOS was, and what enhancements in communication we were able to provide. My statement, this is not a glorification statement at all. I promise you that. What it is to point out that it is in your ignorance, in thinking that somehow Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and these guys are so much better than you are, Mike Cisak, that they deserve the wealth that you don't have. And that is not the case. What I am trying to promote here, I developed all these different pieces of software. Does that make it that I should have orders of magnitude more money than any of you that don't produce that kind of software? Hell no. Because guess what? As I grew in my life, I realized that absent most of you, I could not have attained what I had attained then. Absent your investment, absent you investing in the University of Texas, absent you making the Texas freeways what they are, absent you creating the airports and so forth that made a kid out of Central America see this and say, I want to do that. So, Mr. Hayes, I am not the ignorant person here, sir. Those who allow those who are wealthy now to believe that they are deserving of all that wealth. That is where the ignorance come in, and that is the thing that I am trying to fight. I am trying to tell you, let your inner power come out. Let your inner power come out. I am no better than you, and you are no better than I am. Bill Gates is no better than you, and the converse is true as well. But the way our system has taught us, it has taught us to revere those who work the least. The stockbroker that is going to make a piece off of everything you spend thinks he's deserving of your money. That person that is managing somebody else's assets, they think they are deserving of your money so much that even as they get free money, they don't want to pay taxes on it. Sir, this is not conjecture. We have been programmed into believing we are lesser people. And when I say we, I'm talking about all of us. That's how we've been programmed. And until we enlighten ourselves, Bill Gates, and I love Bill Gates. Bill Gates is a nice guy. He followed the rules. He followed the capitalist rules. It's just that the capitalist rule says, I screw everybody I can. Because look at what Price and Power is doing right now to gasoline. They don't care that a mother is going to suffer because the prices of gasoline goes up. They don't care that the price of cheese or milk or Similac or whatever is going to go up and hurt people. That's not a part of the equation. And you accept it as if it is divine, as if our economic system is divine. Oh, those guys that built it, they knew it all. They didn't. They built a system that was connected to their current wealth and continues. My good friend David Cobb, who ran for president on the Green Party, when we would sit down and discuss the Constitution every time Move to Amend met in Portland and all these other cities, right? And one time we sat down and he's drinking a beer, I'm drinking an O'Doul. We stayed in a house, we were locked into a house for 4 days where we developed plans, etc. And I did that twice a year for about 5 years when we were developing the 28th Amendment. Now, they used to get me my O'Douls and they'll drink the beer and we'll sit down. And one time David Cobb, who is a lawyer, he said, Egberto, you talk about the Constitution, and I like to take the good parts out of the Constitution. He wants to do away with it altogether. And he said, what you don't understand, Egberto, is that the Constitution is a capital document. And if it started as a capital document, for all purposes, it's irredeemable. And I always said, no. It has an elastic clause. Yes, it does. But think about how convoluted. I said, well, we do it. And if we open, so what I'm saying, guys, I hope you understand where I'm coming. And when I tell you my story, and by the way, the reason I was able to do this is because I knew how to make money. Now, the one thing that I didn't do right is I thought this was going to be break even long time ago. But when the corporatocracy gets you and Google and Facebook and all these guys change the algorithm, it screws you. So it took everything away. What I got, it took everything away. But my point is the following. I did that willingly. Nobody asked me to do it. Nobody forced me to do it. I felt a responsibility to do it. And I, as someone who always start companies, etc., and I've started over 5 companies, as somebody who start companies, I figure at some time I will develop the appropriate model that makes doing good worth it in an equitable manner. So there you go. All right. Sorry about that one, but he touched a nerve. Because I understand what was in between the lines. Paul Fleming says, say that Liz Cheney is the ultimate patriot is an over-exaggeration. After all, she voted against the voting rights bill. Thank you, Fleming. You get it. The bedrock of democracy. You get it. If she was all in on full democracy, you are correct. And I've been schooled on that before because I've been glorifying her, and I still do because she's instrumental in helping us. But you're absolutely right, Brother Paul Fleming Sr. Peggy Lopez says, interesting to me that Russia and Saudi Arabia raising the oil prices. Are they trying to get MAGA reinstated at the top of the country? Yes, they are. Coupled with thugs in suits and ties. Yes, they are, Peggy Lopez. And I hope you've forgiven me by now, Peggy. I hope you've forgiven me by now. I felt so bad because, I always preach about, hey, doing the right thing. And that one, to me, it was so blatant that I didn't see that. So forgive me. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. Paul Fleming says, if you mention that inflation is at 40-year high, then you must mention that corporations are at 50-year high profits. Thank you, Paul. Swalwell, I'm going to give you I'm going to play a piece by Swalwell and Omar that pretty much says that is how we need to fight back. You are so right with that statement, Paul. Peggy Lopez says House Democrats are gearing up to ensure Representative Marjorie Greene over her social media post calling President Joe Biden Hitler, the Washington Post says. To censure, interesting. They're going to censure her? That would be great. Let's see. Paul Fleming, well, yeah, corporate price gouging is a primary cause of inflation. Whoop, whoop, you got that right. And let's see. Peggy Lopez says, I have made a number of decisions to not get rich. I could not see myself not being sucked into the psychological damage that comes with separating myself out from the herd. It's deep. Like I said, one of my wake-up calls, one of the many wake-up calls was when Bowen, without a problem, I had a license. I'll tell you the price, okay? It was one license to use a thing that dropped the RTS signal, $10,000, right? And I think these guys were just going to come back and negotiate the prices down or whatever. And it was just like, okay, the contract will be in the mail. Not in the mail. It was email during that time. It will be emailed. And I was like, oh, wow. And then, there's a certain amount of, coming from where I come from, okay, there's a certain amount of guilt that I always felt making money because it was, I had this skill that was easy to make money in software and the kind of software that I wrote. And there was a certain amount of guilt knowing that the teacher that taught me wasn't making that. The professors at the University of Texas that taught me weren't making that. And there is that, thing of unfairness, that feeling. And it always hit me. I was never that kind that just thought, hey, I made it. I could never be that kind of a person. I could never be that kind of a person. All right. Peggy Lopez says, I have made, oh yeah, I read that one. Protagonists, antagonists. Yep. You're conservatives here to love to troll you. Gates love viruses. Oh, wow. Let's see. That's actually false. Much of Europe has a mindset of you keeping in your station that you were born into. There is much more stagnation in Europe than in the U.S. But you know what's the difference again, Mike? You have stagnation in the U.S. because of a flawed economic system. They are trying to run in too much capitalism along with their social state. And in doing so, yes, you get it's not stagflation. You get stagnation. In other words, the people don't. Again, if you try to be super efficient, you would lay off a whole lot of people, right? But the good thing about the European countries is they have their stipend. They don't starve. They don't get, if they need health care, they get it. That is something that Americans never think about. Eric says, how about not be envious of Otger's problem solved of others? I'm not envious of anybody. Robert Davenport, welcome aboard. He says, there are two types of Republicans, rich ones and stupid ones. Check your bank account to determine your status. Less than $1 million available cash, you are not rich. Amazing. It's a lot of people who think that having $1 million or $2 or $3 that makes them rich, right? Mike Cisak, you are confusing mythology and reality. Breaking with what you believe to be true is hard, I know. And that's why I am happy to still have my great right-wingers here. Because a lot of this, they're not going to act on it right away, but a lot of this will be planted in their seeds, in their mind. We will never know if Egberto could have been a multimillionaire. What could have been can never be known, but it sure is easy to get a bit of gravitas to claim he is virtuous that you just walked away from the money. You see how these guys tease me into telling stories. You see how he teases? He says it's easy for me to say, okay, I'm going to give you another caveat here where I left $300,000 on the table. I have a software package called ComDRV that does transfers. And it is very dependent on date and time. Okay? Now, when we had the Y2K problem, I'm just telling you that. I'm talking to my right-wingers who somehow I'm proving myself. I want them to listen to me. I want them to see that what I'm saying is just not bull. Okay? During the Y2K problem, I had over 6,000 customers that bought ComDRV and this product here that does serial com over the line transfer between transducers, both oil field and so forth in the field. And when it was Y2K, all of them sent me these emails and letters. Hey, we need to do Y2K compliant. What version of the software do we need to integrate into our system for compliancy? The low end, by the way, the upgrade would be about $100, okay? About $100 for the upgrade. And what I did is I said, and in those days, I wanted to be like, we write good software here. So every one of those answers were, hey, nothing to worry about here. We knew 2000 was coming, and we instituted that into the 8-bit because that's how IBM used to store. IBM, the big corporation, right, made a mistake in the way they handled the date-time transition for the year 2000, even though the PC came out in 1981 or 82, right? And they couldn't foresee it lasting 20-something years, I guess, 20 years or so. So we fixed the bug in the clock on the IBM PC so that when we read the real-time clock, we could do that conversion, which means our software could last 100 years. Anywho, so we didn't make a penny from Y2K. The low end of the bar for that software would have been $300,000. Okay? And we left it on the table because we're honest. Now, a lot of other companies, there was nothing special about Willie's computer. I guarantee you most companies who wrote software in 1990, in 1995, knew about the bug on the clock and would have made the wraparound work just fine. But that's not what they did. They went ahead and collected. I've had people told me, you are so damn stupid for doing that. How much money did you leave on the table? I think did I tell that story in the book? I don't remember if I told the story in the book. Anyway, every Democrat believes that if Hunter broke the law, then he should pay for the crime. Every Republican believes that the Trump family is above the law. And not only that, the law that Biden broke was that he didn't fill out the thing honestly because he was on drugs and he said he wasn't, right? So there we go. All right, let me put this on the screen because Michael Rudnan asked for it. And I like to oblige when my good folks ask for certain things. Voting Republican. I vote Republican to keep foreigners, minorities, women, socialists, gays, and liberals from ruining my life. I vote Republican to keep this moron from realizing I'm the only one ruining his life. I love that. Actually, that's more true than not. Melanie Keelan is in the house. Welcome aboard. Paul Fleming Sr. is in the house. Of course, he says, every Democrat believes that. I read that one already. Okay, I'm scrolling down. Robin Davenport says, Eric Hayes, you lost $1 million since the current administration took over? Or be honest, you have never had $1 million under any Republican administration. You just blame it on people who look like me when they are running things. He didn't lose any money. Don't even, that's not true at all. Eric, why would you, I don't think he said that, I hope, because I know Eric, right? Okay. Hunter Biden needs to give back the $2 billion. Oh, yeah, that's right. That was Jared and Ivanka. All right, your friend is flawed. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. I'm going to, Paul Fleming says, why doesn't Tucker have Christian Walker on the Hannity show? I wonder why. You know why, right? Eric, Robert Davenport, Eric, only the deluded think any human is not flawed. Try not to follow obvious liars and con artists. Bruce Pollard says, so in my opinion, the whole idea that was the basis of your programming starts with the inventor of async serial connection UART with Gordon Bell in 1965. Oh, wow. You hit something very important, Bruce. Right. I would not have been able to develop the 80, what was it again? The 8250, 8251, depending on the version of the serial port, and the 8059, which was the multiplexer that pumps the UART, the interrupt line, if it didn't come from Gordon developing that in the first place. So you're absolutely right. We all build on each other's work. And in engineering and science, it has always been like that. And the true scientist, the true engineer, has never tried to just monopolize and get billions off of it. But, I remember Bill Gates in the days that I'm going to have to do the other two stories later because I want to talk about Bill Gates here. Remember, I came up when MS-DOS was really the big thing. Bill Gates didn't create MS-DOS. He bought it for $50,000 or so from a company in Seattle, then licensed it to IBM and made millions on it, right? And then later on, Bill Gates started this stuff that you can't, license software. Software is work. He thought all of us that were giving away a lot of software in those days. And I had just started doing software back in 1983, 84, doing the software, a whole lot of software. Bill Gates thought it was crazy for us to be writing software and just throwing it up in the public domain. And he created something like a manifesto saying that, nope, software is a commodity. No, it's not a commodity. Software is something that you must build on. And, I did do that. I did follow his lead, created the software to make his stuff better. Thank you for forgiving me, Breach. Bruce says, let's eliminate the possibility of nationalizing petroleum. I think it would take a constitutional amendment. That's not happening, and for reasons, I know it is. But, I am for almost, I don't know. I don't know how nationalization would work. Maybe there's something in the law that may give us the ability to do it on an emergency basis and pay the shareholders off or something. I don't know. And Peggy forgave me as well. Thank you. The drunks on Fox warn us tonight off the danger of smoking weed. Go figure, drunk drivers. That's a good one, though. Beware of uncontrollable technology, as its proponents always cite the best case scenario, but don't play out that way, because at the bottom, control, progress, and material satisfaction are only myths that fuel the engine of Western culture. It's interesting. I'm glad that you said that. Nationalize oil now, says Robert Davenport. I like that you said that, E2247. Because that is so right. A lot of times we think that a microprocessor, because somebody can do something complicated with a microprocessor, a simple act by an indigenous person who knows how to use the land to do the things that it wants, that we have to use a microprocessor to do. Who is the better engineer, right? We got it if it gets the work done, right? Other engines are available, this is from E2247, to us to use such in partnership, fueled by reciprocity and willingness to recall our original instructions. I love that. Bridge MCP says, I could have went back into business world with my degrees, but chose to teach instead. You know what? I love teachers. Teachers is the most important profession, bar none. They're the ones that move technology forward. They're the ones that move everything forward. And in Panama, we really revere teachers. Over here, sad, sad, sad. And look at Mr. Hayes again. Biden inflation! Boy, you give credence to so much. Egberto, Mike Cisak lied about economic mobility in the U.S. This needs to be corrected. The Guardian, the American dream of upward mobility is broken. Look at the numbers. Thank you. I'll put that one on the screen as well, sir. I didn't read the statement that he made, so I'm just depending on you to tell me what he said. The American dream of upward mobility is broken. Look at the numbers there. Oh, I think I know what he read. He read an article a few months ago that came out last month on the Fortune or something like that, that actually said income inequality has stabilized. It didn't say it was over. It said it stabilized. it's false, of course, because it doesn't count into account the data since the thieves have used inflation to take it back. Bruce Pollard says, when I needed more money for my family, I stopped teaching at a college and started teaching for an oil company. Now I'm paying back people wherever I can. As a supporter, Bruce, I can say that you've been doing your part, brother. As a supporter, you have been doing your part. Capitalism leads to racism because of the nature of winning and losing. You have to find division among people so that they fight each other so they don't see who the culprit really is. Let's see. Robert Davenport says, record profits for big oil while inflation chokes the entire nation is just plain old bad national policy. Agreed. Paul Fleming, I gave up being wealthy in the bin time of the corporations I work for because I chose family over wealth. Then when I had the opportunity to be an owner, life still has been kind to me. Yeah, I love my life. I don't have money like I had before. I depend on what I do on videos and all these things, which is a little bit of money. But I was around the table when we took my wife to her birthday, and Lou asked me, Roberto, who went with us. Roberto said, Egberto, how you doing? And it was him and my daughter at the table, and I said, I don't know, Lou, I am happy. And he looked at Ashley and he said, Ashley, did you hear that? Your dad said without batting an eye that he is happy. And I am. This is what I want to do. I want to do what is right to change a country that's on the wrong path. Not me, myself. Those of us doing this kind of work. Those of us. I didn't do my ask. I'm not going to play it because I don't have time. I forgot. All right, I'm going to just ask you guys to do me a big favor. I'm going to put a link inside, okay? The link is going to be, and let me go ahead and take this off the screen so I don't have all that stuff showing. The link is going to be PayPal. If you like what we do here, if you believe in what we do here, I ask you kindly to give us a coffee a month or a one-time coffee. Give us a couple of coffees or a one-time coffee. Go to politicsdoneright.com/PayPal and support us, please. Alternatively, you can support us by becoming a Patreon. We have all the different ways that you can support us to make it whatever is easier for you. politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Patreon is spelled Patreon. politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Patreon spelled Patreon. Or simply go ahead on YouTube and say join. Or if you're not on YouTube, just go to politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. Now, you can get our books. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, How to Make America Utopia. Please consider doing that at politicsdoneright.com/books. Please consider the all-encompassing support. You can find any way that you can find to support us at politicsdoneright.com/support. politicsdoneright.com/support. Now, I just created a podcast. It's both podcast and videocast in one area, and you can watch it on Spotify. So you can see videos and all my videos and audio on Spotify. Robert Davenport says, oh my, Egberto, you want to help America become better for everyone? No wonder the right-wing American hating trolls dislike you so much. Yeah. But anyhow, my brothers and sisters, I have a new place I want to ask you so kindly to subscribe. Some of you, could you subscribe today, please? It's at anchor.fm/Egberto Willies/subscribe. Anchor.fm/Egberto Willies/subscribe. Please consider subscribing to my podcast. Both new and old podcasts are there, as well as all the videos are going to be on that platform as well. And I am already putting some short pieces that are not going to be anywhere but for the supporting cast of all of you. Daniel Ledo says, your choice to pursue a career in propaganda will be taken into account at your trial. No one forced you to do this. I think there is an entrance sentence for willful colluding to destroy America. Okay, Daniel Ledo. I would love for, if something happened like you said, I would love to go on trial as long as you guys give me the opportunity to speak to everybody's heart. Bree says, Egberto, you get a better pay when you are happy doing for others. It comes not in bucks, but in love. I agree. When I tell you, you get up in the mornings, right? I got my sleep up by another hour. In other words, I was getting 3 hours. One lady forced me to get 4 hours. Now it's 5 hours since my scare with my blood pressure. So I'm trying to get 5 hours. I think I did 4:50 last night. But I love it. Bruce says, it seems to me that a select group of people have banded together to discriminate between their group and others less fortunate. Sounds like a caste system. No, yes, it does. I am afraid our consultation does not prevent that. Do we need a declaration and to put our lives on the line? I don't think we have to put our lives on the line. You see, people listen. I mean, not everybody's like Eric Hayes that it's almost, how sometimes a savant would just, they're focused like this. That is what Republican methodology do to a lot of people. They put on blinders on them. And your job, our job, is to try to crack these blinders. The thing about it is sometimes when those blinders are cracked, it's really, really that way. Anyhow, oh no, Egberto, the trails are really just window dressing. Your guilt is already decided. Oh, I see. Thank you, my dear brother. I see I'm already guilty. Ouch! Trees, it is. I guess they're going to put me on the tree. So they have the trees selected, man. Okay. Lee Grant says, idiot savant for the truth. All right, folks. Let me tell you, we are at 4 o'clock. I need to get out of here. I just want to thank you all so very much kindly. I only have like 2 people so far that took up the offer yesterday to join my Anchor.fm. Could 5 or 10 of you do it now? Go to anchor.fm/EgbertoWillies/subscribe. Tell me what you think. I would love if some of you join. It's only $4.99. So please go ahead and join that where I'm going to put everything. I'll say hi to Ashley for you, Sister Bridge. All right. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.